Good morning and happy Monday, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining today's stream. Lucid and Tesla are definitely the top stocks for today as of right now. I know there's a ton of hype with Lucid. They had their first official deliveries over the weekend, which is awesome to see. Obviously, they are in an extremely competitive sector and a very fast-growing industry, like with EVs and all that. And there's a lot of hype with it too. So definitely keep Lucid on your radar. They're actually trending up pretty well this morning, Tom.
Yeah, they really are. You can see in pre-market trading here, they're actually popping up almost to those highs of yesterday. I know the high was I should say on Friday, but the high was at 41.60. We're actually getting up towards that 40.43 kind of upper resistance level of pre-market. So hopefully here at open, this momentum keeps up and we can see Lucid continue up here. I know that their movement on the daily has been really nice to see. And if they're able to get another big green candle here, that would show that they have a lot of strength right now. And there's not too much resistance, like we talked about in yesterday's video, Mike, between $45 and $50. So hopefully we can start to get that big break of 44 like we talked about.
There we go. And then we can't forget about good old Tesla, who actually broke all-time highs in pre-market today. Their new all-time high is $1,158.50. So that's crazy. They've really surprised me over the past couple weeks with how quick they exploded, and all in all, they just have a ton of momentum. And I would say it's actually a pretty good thing for Lucid because, when you have one sector exploding, normally all of the stocks, or at least most of the stocks within that sector, run up. So for example, when oil's going through the roof, you normally see most oil stocks pop off. And you can say the same thing about electric vehicles. You could say MJ stocks, solar stocks, whatever. So it's looking pretty good. And actually, Tom, I saw even XPEV was looking pretty good this morning.
Yeah, somehow they're popping off really big, actually, up to that $49 area. They actually have a lot of resistance right there at 49 to 49.50. And if they break that, I think that they could have a pretty nice run as well. You can see on the daily chart, they've been moving almost just as well as Lucid almost. And you can see Tesla has been running up also the past month, and XPEV's just been following along.
There we go. Good stuff. So I just want to welcome everyone to the stream really quickly. So thank you guys so much for joining, and welcome Bill, David, Dang, Jamie, J-Trade, Gabriel, Jay, Rick, AJ, and Info. Thank you guys so much for joining. AJ said, "Hey, Mike and Tom, hope you all are doing well." Yeah, we hope you're doing very well too, AJ. Thank you so much for joining today. Thanks for joining, guys. Tom, the top of my watch list is actually led by, let me pull it up really quickly, Tesla. So it's up 3%. It's running pretty big. And another one I wanted to point out was Spotify. I know we talked about this one a lot before Spotify even ran up, but they are uptrending pretty well. You look at that daily chart, and they're really starting to explode. And I feel like this one will be a pretty good long-term hold, even at this level.
Yeah, I think so too. And if it starts to break this $300 resistance coming up, I feel like that Spotify could have a pretty big move. They just had some awesome earnings, and they've also been down here around these $220, $250 levels for a long time. So I'm really glad to finally see them getting this nice breakout. And like I said, there's a huge resistance coming up around $300. This is actually going to be a huge level to look at. So if we break this to the upside, I think it could be an awesome move, but definitely be careful with it.
Good stuff. All right, we have Sir saying, "Morning, fam. Let's win. Let's go." Yeah, let's go. Tesla's definitely leading the way. Another one I wanted to point out really quickly, Tom, was SONO. So I know not too many people talk about this one, but I've been watching it pretty closely for the past couple of weeks. Their IV's exploding right now. The stock is up 5.5% on the day, but I actually saw a lot of smart money getting into this one, and I just want to point it out there. I know it's not like a Tesla or DraftKings or anything like that, but I feel like for a short-term trade, there's definitely some potential, and it's really been on my watch list.
Yeah, it actually looks pretty strong. And, on the daily, they did have that big dip down a couple months ago, but with the way it's kind of recovering, it looks like the recovery is coming pretty strong. They held that support there around $30, and it looks like a pretty decent play back to the upside. I thought that whenever you were naming the ticker, Mike, you said SO. I thought you were going to say SOFI. Was
Oh,
not expecting to hear SONO, but I really like the setup here and lots of recovery here out of this play as well. And another stock doing pretty good today is PLUG, Mike. They're continuing their run, and man, they've just been running up ever since they broke that 35 resistance all the way up to $40 now.
there we go. So yeah, I know not too many people like watch SONO, but yeah, like you said, Plug's looking pretty good too. Welcome Sir C to the stream. We have Bill saying good morning. Apple, will it ring the 150 bell and bounce off? So Tom, let's take a look at good old Apple. It's getting really close. You know, I would assume that it touches 150. We were really, really close to it, but I guess it would mainly depend on the sentiment of the market overall because Apple really moves with the market, but it's definitely uptrending, so I would think so.
Yeah, it could definitely do that. Keep in mind, it already did touch it in pre-market, so maybe that was the touch there. But I could see it hitting it, especially with the way that we have this huge green candle here at market open. You can see for the past 5 minutes, well, we had a dip at first, but then ever since open, we've had a pretty nice recovery back. And we did get pretty close. Like I said, we got to like 149. It looks like this candle topped out at like 149.69. So I feel like that was pretty close to 150, and we touched 150 in pre-market. I feel like we could still touch it, but I feel like that pre-market touch might be all we needed.
Gotcha. So another thing I wanted to cover was Bkkt. This stock is like one of the recent hype stocks with like MasterCard and like crypto payments and all that. And this thing literally exploded on Friday. Like I was watching it and I couldn't believe it, like it was just exploding. And I just wanted to point it out because it's like one of those hype plays that has a lot of momentum and no one can catch the top, but I feel like there's opportunity to play this one, but you have to be very selective, especially given the implied volatility. It's at 250%, so options trading on this one would be pretty dangerous, but if you catch it right, it can pay off big time. But I just wanted to point it out.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good today so far. It hasn't been moving too much, but if we start to see some momentum come in a little bit later, I feel like it could definitely be a good one to keep on the watch list. And, like you said, they're working with MasterCard, which is a pretty big company. And that was pretty good news that they had. It especially to me is good news for MasterCard, but I feel like that's going to really help this company in the short term. So even if they end up down for the next 2 days, throw it on the radar because they might come down, bounce off the 25 support, and start to fly back up. You never know, but I feel like it could definitely have some big moves over the next few weeks.
Awesome. All right, so we have Spacely saying my AAL puts are printing. Morning, everybody. So, Spacely, do you know about these canceled flights, or what made you get those? So that's awesome. I don't know when you got them, but yeah, it's definitely downtrending. I know that they had Tom. I think when we recorded yesterday's video, it might have been like 1,200 flights, and I think the number is now up to 2,000.
Wow, is it really? That's a
Thought
pretty
so.
crazy thing to hear. I can't believe that it's actually been that crazy that they would have 1,200 canceled flights and then 2,000. I know Southwest had it a little while ago as well, and now American came out and had the same problem yesterday. So it's a pretty bad time right now for the airlines. Unfortunately, staffing shortages and stuff like that are definitely not helping them, and it's not a good time, especially if they're having like pilots do those walkouts and stuff, kind of like what Southwest was doing. That would be a pretty bad scenario. So hopefully that's not happening. And I hope that the situation gets fixed. But it looks like right now AAL is actually kind of bouncing off support here around $18.90, or you could say around 18.80 as well. There's been a lot of support here, and it looks like we are bouncing here. But I don't know. With all the bad news, I feel like we might end up breaking this down.
All right, so yeah, I'm looking on CNBC right now. Their most recent number is 1,700 flights since Friday. So I don't know if I either read 2,000 wrong or whatever. But either way, we're getting really close to it. It's quite a lot of flights. I don't remember the exact number Southwest had, but these airlines have been struggling a lot in general, so that kind of
Yeah.
sucks to see. Out of cruise lines and airlines, I definitely like cruise lines better, specifically like RCL. That's my favorite, but at the end of the day, they all basically move together, so keep that in mind. So yeah, that's interesting. We have AJ saying thoughts on tech stocks like AMD and Nvidia. So Tom, I know that you follow these ones a lot more than I do. What are your thoughts?
I've actually been loving them for the past few weeks. They've been flying up pretty well. I know AMD and Nvidia have even been making new highs, which has been pretty awesome to see. But it looks like as of today, AMD at least is taking a pretty bad turn to the downside. I feel like we could see this one consolidate for a few days. They pretty much went straight up from this $100 support straight up to $128. And now they're finally seeing a couple red days come in. So I feel like that we could just see a little bit of a downturn / consolidation on AMD, but Nvidia looks a little bit differently. They look like they've been running up, and they are red today. And I feel like they could consolidate too with the way that they've been running. But it seems like Nvidia has been slightly stronger the past few days, but they both generally move the same. So as we can see, AMD's been down today, and Nvidia is starting to come down too. But on Friday, Nvidia was actually making new highs while AMD was kind of consolidating. So they don't always move together, but generally they just move like with the QQQ.
Gotcha. So, they're both amazing companies, and the stocks have been exploding over the past couple years, and I really want to hold them for the long term, but I'm just waiting on my entry. So, like I said, I'd love to hold them, but I just need I need a better price, and who knows, the stock might just keep going up, and I might never get an entry, but they're solid companies, and it's hard to bet against them.
Yeah, and it was pretty good whenever AMD was hitting that $100 support a little while ago. It was hard to buy right there. Obviously, it was hard to buy for me. But whenever I was looking at this, it came down, touched the $100 support, and it held up so well. Like you could have just put a stop loss there at like $99 or something, and you could have caught that dip pretty well. And it was a pretty decent uptrend. But as of right now, with it being up here around 120, I don't think I'd be buying it either right here for the longer term yet. I'll definitely wait for a little bit of a dip, kind of like what we saw whenever it dipped down to 100. If I see something like that happen again, I'll definitely get in.
Here we go. We have Sean saying Boeing with a rocket emoji. There we go. So Boeing's finally starting to show some good momentum. Like this one and Disney have just been consolidating for what seems like ever, and it's good to just finally see some movement, and especially to the upside. So I love to see that, especially after their horrible downtrend that they've had over like the past month.
Yeah, and then they had some bad news come out just like last week with that Dreamliner. They said they had some production problems. There wasn't any like delays or anything, but there was like an actual problem that they had to solve with it. And apparently they're getting it fixed. But either way, I'm glad to see it coming up as well, Mike. They're right on support. There's a big support right around 200 to 205. Looks like we bounced off of that and we're getting a nice move back. So I really hope that the comeback is starting for Boeing here. And I hope that we can get back above this 210 resistance. And then hopefully that'll act as a nice support for us. But I'm so glad to see this. And maybe we'll start to be able to play some calls on Boeing. And we've been looking at them pretty hard for the past couple of weeks. But man, Boeing just had some bad movement.
Yep, you know it. Fubo's even popping off. It just popped up on my scanner. A lot of stocks are looking pretty good, Tom. Fubo being one of them, and just some of the other, I don't want to say hype stocks, but I would say like beaten down growth stocks, like you mentioned Plug. But it's great to see some movement out of them, and I feel like Fubo and Plug like aren't even like if you wanted to hold them for like the next couple weeks or like the next couple months, I don't think they're bad.
Yeah, I don't either. Fubo is kind of like Plug in the beginning stages. I feel like we can see Plug right now. They've recovered a lot over the past week or two. I feel like that FUBO is kind of like Plug at $30. Like they're just about to break out of their resistances. You can see FUBO is honestly right on resistance. They have resistance right around $33 to $35. So definitely watch out for that over the next couple days. And they have earnings coming up as well. So if those earnings go well, I could see Fubo having a pretty nice pop. And like I said, they're part of that growth sector, and that whole sector has just been exploding lately. And they look like they're in that same type of bullish formation. This was honestly a really nice bullish flag setup here on the daily. And I really love those types of setups to the upside.
Here we go. Love to see it. Even Baba's starting to pop off pretty good. Alibaba stock up nearly 4% on the day. It's actually looking pretty good, Tom. Like I'm actually thinking about selling some puts on it or something like that.
Yeah, it actually does look pretty good. Earnings are coming up here on November 4th, so we got to be a little careful of that over the next few days. But man, I love the way this green candle looks. If these stocks start to pop off and if Baba can come up and break $180 of the upside, that'll be a really good move. And I feel like that these China stocks have a pretty good chance to pop off for the next, at least for the next like 6 months.
Yeah, I'm with you for sure. All right, so we have Jay saying, any thoughts on Moderna? So mRNA, in my opinion, it's still overbought, and I can see it falling more.
Yeah, I could actually too. And I'll tell you what, the technicals here look pretty bad. Like we can see, we came up, we hit the resistance, we got rejected right off of that. And now we're getting a pretty bad red candle come into Moderna stock. And I've been seeing some stuff about vaccine news and stuff lately. And they have earnings again on November 4th, just like Fubo was, or Fubo did, I think it was. So just keep in mind, there is a lot of earnings coming up. So always be careful with that. Moderna is a pretty big vaccine stock, so the earnings are probably going to matter. They're probably going to talk about a lot of different numbers and stuff like that. I feel like I'm with you though, Mike. I feel like it could definitely have more of a move to the downside. We just hit that resistance, got rejected. We're also right on the 100 SMA, starting to fall below that. It's not looking good right now.
Gotcha. How about this DraftKings action, Tom? It's looking pretty good finally. Another one I had to point out was Starbucks. Talk about a reversal from Friday. That is like a complete 180. Like literally, like they were like tanking down and then they're popping right back up. And then Tom, we're going to talk about one that's going to make you pretty happy, and that's CVS. It's actually breaking out in a pretty awesome way.
Wow, look at this. I did not even see this yet today, Mike, while we've been on stream, but this has been moving very well, breaking that $90 resistance. Man, we've been eyeing this one up for a while. You can see that daily chart's been looking pretty strong, and I'm really glad to see this one finally breaking out. They have earnings coming up in just a couple of days, so hopefully that doesn't turn the trend the other way. I'd love to see these earnings help them just continue the breakout, and so far it seems pretty strong. So I'd love to see it, Mike. I know this company has been on a big turnaround lately. If we look at the max daily, CVS was having a pretty rough couple of years there, and it looks like COVID has really helped them get a lot of traction back.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's good to see this movement too. And I feel like CVS it's kind of like a value stock, and these value stocks, most of the time you don't see them have like 10% up days, but you look at like a Home Depot or a Target or something like that, and when it uptrends, like sometimes like it'll just like explode up for like a month straight. So honestly, Tom, looking at this chart, like depending on how everything goes, like I wouldn't be surprised if it's at like $95 in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, to be honest. Like, we're finally getting the breakout, and like whenever this stock breaks out, sometimes it gets pretty strong. And I would not be surprised to see 95, maybe even a retest of $100 if we get really lucky.
Yeah, I can see it for sure. I mean, definitely a good stock, good company. Earnings is very soon, so that'll obviously be the deciding factor.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too excited now and then earnings comes out and turns it around. But at the same time, like earnings season has been pretty volatile so far. So hopefully that works to CVS's favor, and maybe we see a big move. So that's awesome. I'm just looking back on some like the previous moves with CVS on the daily chart. Like they had an amazing breakout in May of 2021. They went from like $77 all the way up to like 90. So that was pretty explosive. And even in like other breakouts, they had some pretty good movement. So I'm glad to see it, and I'm excited to see how it does over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, definitely. And I like how you pointed out that one back there in May, because it was honestly on some pretty big resistance levels whenever it finally broke out there. And we're on a pretty big resistance level again here. So hopefully we see that momentum start to come in. And Mike, a stock that actually creeped up there on my watch list today has been Blink Charging, BLNK. I know that they're probably following Plug and the rest of the growth stocks up, but hey, I'm glad to see Blink moving. They've honestly been kind of lagging behind a lot of the other stocks. Like you can see Blink is just at $34 from their $30 support. And we've had stocks like Plug starting to really break out up above $40 now, really breaking their $30 resistance. So it's just, I'm really glad to see Blink, which has been lagging behind, start to get this momentum to them.
You know it. All right, we have Robin saying Palantir over 26. Hopefully we keep going strong. I'm really hoping so. They've been such a slow-moving stock, but I feel like they have a lot of potential, and they have earnings pretty soon. So I'm really excited to see how it does.
Yeah, this is another one that's kind of like been lagging behind a little bit. Like we've been seeing Enphase, Plug, Lucid Motors. Like we've been seeing a lot of these stocks start to really pop. Teladoc is even getting some pretty big moves. And I'm really hoping that Palantir starts to move over the next few days. And if they report good earnings, I think they could have a pretty big move. This is a pretty popular stock, and I feel like lots of people have been buying it up on this dip. So I hope that this stock can get some momentum back. I know that there's a big resistance there around 28.50 to $30. And I feel like that we'll definitely be heading back up to that over the next couple of weeks. And once we finally break out of that, I feel like we could see a pretty nice move to the upside.
Gotcha. All right, we're seeing a lot of great movement today, Tom. Like, of course, we pointed out CVS, DraftKings, Fubo, and stuff like that. But another one that's creeping up there is, oh, I just lost it, is Disney. There we go. So Disney. They've been consolidating a lot, and I know they're not up a ton, but it's good to see this movement. You know what I mean? Like, they're up 1%, and they're on a pretty major support level right around, you could say, like 169 or so.
Yeah, I have that big support right there as well. And I'm really glad to see them holding that level, because if they break this support to the downside, I'll be honest, it'll look pretty scary to me in the short term. I'm really hoping that these earnings go well for them so that Disney can get a big pop up. It's looking pretty scary right here around this support. So I really hope that it holds up with earnings coming up. And, they're a pretty good company, and all that they need is just some good Disney Plus numbers, some good subscriber numbers or something like that. And this stock could really turn around. So honestly, they're not even that far off their all-time high, Mike. Like honestly, like 170 to $200. Like we've been seeing lots of other stocks have way more major moves than that. So I'm really hoping that Disney can get a decent boost, at least back up there with these earnings coming out. But you never know. It's going to be really 50-50. But I'm really hoping that they can have some good numbers.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I'm really rooting for them. They're a solid company, and I think it's about time they see some more momentum coming in. So definitely on my radar. But Tom, like, what stocks are you watching today? Like, what are some of your favorite setups?
One of my favorite that we've been looking at all morning has been Boeing, actually. I've been actually really looking at them pretty hard lately. I've been really watching for a bounce around one of these support levels down here. And this might be the bounce that I've been waiting for. They had some pretty bad news last week on their earnings. The earnings did not go well. And they even said that they lost money because of that Dreamliner problem. So to me, it seemed like they would send Boeing to the downside, but looks like their stock is really consolidating. And if they start to break out above $210, I'll really eye this up. They'll be passing up above the 1,000 SMA, and they'll be passing above the key resistance right here. So definitely throw Boeing on the radar. It looks like they're actually breaking out above that right now. And I'll definitely be eyeing them up for the rest of the day today and for the next week or so, because if they start to get a turnaround, I feel like this could be a pretty good multi-day runner.
Love to see it. All right, we have Vicky saying good morning. Thanks for joining the stream, Vicky. If you guys like our streams, it would help us out so much if you could hit that like button. It takes like 2 seconds, and it really helps us out more than you guys know. So thank you guys so much for being here. Tom, how's oil looking?
Man, we are up to $84.76 a barrel. It was actually looking like crude oil would actually start to pull back there for a couple of days. We had a pretty big red day come in. We had some consolidation, but looks like today crude oil is back on its uptrend. I know that we've been having lots of news come out of the Middle East. I know OPEC and Russia have been talking a lot about oil as well. And I know that they're going to try to bring down oil prices eventually. But as of right now, oil is still on the uptrend. I know inflation's still getting pretty bad. And oil is really, they've been leading the way with inflation for a big part of it. I know a lot of people have been upset with the price of gas lately and stuff. And we can see crude oil being $85 a barrel. If we break this to the upside, if we go look at like the max weekly chart, you can see that there's not too much resistance between $85 and $100 a barrel. So definitely be prepared for higher gas prices for the next few weeks, guys.
There we go. All right, we have actually here, before we get into Spacely's comment, we got to do a check-in with Lucid. So they're not really moving too much. Like, they're up 3.5% on the day still, but most of those gains came from pre-market. So I'm watching it, Tom. Do you have any levels for us or anything you're seeing in the charts?
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually really eyeing up $36 down here at the bottom. This has been a pretty big support. I will say where we're kind of sitting at right now, if we look at it on the 5-minute, you can see that we're getting a couple of green candles right here and some consolidation around $38. So I'm seeing a good support at $38. If we break this, then I'm going to be eyeing up $36 as the next support. And then below 36, I'll be eyeing up like 33.50. I feel like that's going to be a pretty good support below that. You can see I have a few of those levels on the chart. I'll even add this one on really fast right at 38. But I feel like that with the way this stock's been going up, don't be too surprised if we see a couple days of consolidation and then maybe another pop like later in the week or something. But I really like the setup here. And I feel like that if we can break $40 back to the upside, Lucid could have a pretty good chance to start popping again. But it might be pretty hard to go up, like I said, since we've been flying up so drastically the past week.
Gotcha. All right, we have Spacely saying Fubo 32 strike call expiring this week. Nice day play. So yeah, Fubo's breaking out pretty well, and it's looking pretty good. So good stuff there. Tom, CVS is still going. It's looking pretty good. And I know earlier in the stream we briefly mentioned SoFi, SOFI, or Sophie or whatever. That one's breaking out, and it's not looking too bad.
Wow, up 6.6%. Was not expecting to see that with SOFI today. And you're right, their daily setup looks pretty strong here. Again, though, we have earnings coming up pretty soon. It seems like almost every stock that we've looked at this morning, Mike, has earnings coming up within the next couple of weeks. So definitely that earnings season is going to take a pretty big toll on the market. But I love the way Sophie's moving up. And if we're able to break out up above like 2175 or even that 22 resistance, I feel like we could have a pretty nice run out of SOFI. And this has been a pretty popular stock the past couple of months. I've definitely been hearing about it quite a bit.
No doubt. All right, so Tom, like what stocks are leading your watch list? I know we talked about most stocks that are leading mine, but what are you seeing?
Mine are actually being led mostly by Plug, Blink, and Baba, but I actually have one kind of outlier here called FUV, which I've been hearing about it quite a bit lately, and they're having a pretty nice intraday move, and even on the daily chart, they're kind of popping up with a lot of these other growth stocks, and I feel like they have a pretty good chance to continue up. I'm not saying that they're going to fly up to new all-time highs or anything, but there's a pretty big resistance up here around $18, and I feel like that if Palantir, Blink, and a lot of these other stocks like that continue going up, I feel like that this stock has a pretty good chance to follow the trend and maybe also get a nice pop. Like I said, maybe up to $16 or $18, somewhere like that. But this stock's having a pretty good day, and it's pretty low price down there, around $12. Like I said, Plug is definitely leading the watch list after that, followed by Blink, Baba, and then actually DraftKings, DKNG, and then ChargePoint and Lucid. But one that's doing pretty good today, Mike, that we haven't even talked about is actually Facebook. And, you know, I'm actually going to clear all these drawings off because I have so many on here from the past 3 years or whatever it's been since I've been adding these drawings on. Sometimes I clear some off, sometimes I leave them on. And I feel like that with Facebook having the name change, it's just time to clear them. So with them having the name change, they've actually had a pretty nice turnaround on the chart, Mike. And, you know, Facebook, Twitter, and a lot of these companies, even Snapchat, were really starting to fall down over the past couple months. You know, we've talked about it a little bit. People weren't trusting them as much. They were having a lot of issues like with Congress not trusting them either, you know, whistleblowers coming out, stuff like that, election issues. And then now Facebook changes their name. You know, they're talking about doing augmented reality. A lot of new like metaverse news is coming out, stuff like that. And Facebook's turning around pretty well here. And I feel like this was a very nice strategic move by Facebook. And I feel like they might start to get a nice pop back up over the next few months with the way they've been kind of rearranging themselves.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like AJ said, you mean Meta. Yeah, so I agree with you, Tom. Like, I think what's interesting about Facebook is I know that they've had a lot of controversy lately, and there's been a lot of heat with them. But if we're being objective, like they really do innovate quite a bit, and it's definitely a good quality to have, especially like in you know, like a world that's so like that's changing so rapidly. You know what I mean? So it's definitely an interesting play, and I'll tell you, like they did recover like very well, you know, over like the past couple days or so. Like I know that they're still on a pretty strong downtrend, but with all of the bad news they've had, like they're actually holding up pretty well.
Yeah, they are. And they actually got pretty close to that pretty big $300 support level. They got within like $10 of that. So honestly, like they got pretty close to that support. I feel like it was just a combination of buyers coming in at support, you know, hype possibly off of the meta news. And I feel like that it was just a very smart thing for them to do. You know, like they were starting to really take some flack. And I feel like that they could have honestly almost fallen off the board if they didn't fix themselves. And I'm really glad to see them do that. Now I'm not saying I love Facebook by any means, but either way, I mean, it was a very smart business acquisition. And if you guys have ever seen movies like The Social Network and movies like that, like Good Business type of movies, I feel like this was just such a smart strategic move by Facebook, especially with all the bad stuff coming in and like almost like the investor sentiment was changing and everything. So I think that was just so smart by them.
Here we go. All right, so we have some comments from Mark saying Lucid is going to zero. Fraud. Mark also said Lucid only delivered 5 cars, not fraud, 25 cars, and said Nikola should buy Lucid. Both are fraud. Tesla is going to $2,000. So let us know where you got the sources on that. Let us know where you got that information. Either way, the market is really liking Lucid's action right now, but they also like Nikola's action for some time. But either way, just give us some more info and we could take a look at it. But Lucid's definitely pulling back a little bit right now. I mean, Tom, they're still up 2.5% on the day, and they're definitely holding up.
Yeah, they are holding up pretty well. I've done a lot of research actually about these companies, and I'm not going to say you're wrong, Mark, but either way, Lucid has a 500-mile range on their batteries. They're definitely they're definitely out there. I know their cars cost a lot. They cost like 130 grand. They just started delivering vehicles on October 30th, which I think was just a day or two ago. And it's just I think that's going to be good for them in the future. I can't wait to see how many they deliver in a couple months. Hopefully it's way more than 5, like the number you just gave. That would be really helpful. And I definitely think that they're better than Nikola. So like I said, I'm not saying you're wrong, but either way, I think that they're definitely a lot better. And like Mike said, the market's been liking them. They've been going up a lot lately as well. And hopefully they can just continue the hype, because I'd love to see them go up and break this $40 resistance. They might have some problems with it though intraday. I'll be honest, it looks like they might pull back for the next day or two with the way that they've been moving up so drastically. But for the longer term, I feel like that they're going to hold up a lot better than a company like Nikola would, for example. Nikola is not doing too good in the short term. Obviously, they were a pretty big fraud. I'm glad that Lucid came out with those 500-mile range batteries. I think that definitely helps them.
Yeah, I don't think Lucid is like Nikola at all, to be honest. So either way, just let us know on those sources and we could take a look at it. But Tesla is popping up pretty well, and they're definitely like the top dog when it comes to EVs. And I think that their price shows that, and I think even when you like really look into Tesla, you could see that they're definitely up there, and they're always innovating. Just like I guess we said Facebook was a couple minutes ago. So that's good to see. I'm very excited to see how Tesla progresses and all that. Mark said, please look at Lucid Financials. Lucid is out of cash in 2022. Also, Lucid won't make profits until 2026. See Lucid Q2 Financials. Like, just keep in mind that these companies, especially when their stock price is rising, they can always, do an offering. Like Tesla did a couple offerings over the past couple years, and there's just a lot of things that companies can do to adapt. So I would say to look at more info besides that, but always trust your gut. Keep in mind, like when a company's stock is rising, like they have a lot of options and opportunities there. Like, so just keep that in mind.
And Tesla's stock, another thing is like Tesla's stock also, like their company was actually not profitable for a lot of years as well. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but people kept saying Tesla's actually not making money. They're going to go bankrupt and all this stuff. And, I think Elon Musk even said he was even a few months from going bankrupt there for a while. So, there's these companies definitely have a lot of weird stuff going on.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Tesla had a lot of rough years before it exploded. Like, if you just look at the charts, Tom, like, you scroll back, and they had a lot of tough times before this insane growth even started to happen. Like, we could just see for years, like, lots of big up and down moves, and it was definitely rough for a long time. So keep that in mind. So, yeah, good stuff there. Thanks for the info, Mark. But looking at some of the stocks that are moving right now, Tom, you're not going to guess this one. It's VIAC. So this stock has been struggling a lot over the past year. They had the problem with the whole Archegos problem with when there was that giant margin call, and ever since then they haven't been crashing, but they just haven't been moving at all, and they've just been in, this consolidation phase that seems to be lasting like forever. So they're up like 3% of the day. They're looking decent, but I am waiting for a pop back up.
Yeah, me too. I'm really hoping that these guys can start to get back up there over the next few months. And, they're starting to break some of these supports to the downside. It's just, it hasn't been looking good. But like you said, they're up 2.8% today. And I hope that this recovery might be the start of like a nice turnaround for them. Because if they can start to recover up from that big drop they had on that daily chart, I mean, man, that would be a pretty nice recovery. I'm not saying that they'll go all the way back to 100, but even if they could recover like halfway back up to $60, it would be amazing.
Yep, no doubt, no doubt. All right, we have Mark saying Peter said 6,000 cars by spring 2021. Then Financials refuted Peter. Financials said only 577 cars 2021. So yes, while that's not good, keep in mind that Elon has also had some very ambitious like timelines that he didn't meet either, whether it be delivery numbers, the time for autonomous driving, or even for like the release of the Tesla Roadster. Like I remember a couple years ago, I believe he said that the Tesla Roadster would be out by 2020. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it said he was like when it first came out, the goal was to have it done by 2020, out produced everything. And now we're almost in 2022, and we're still quite a bit away from that.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Like it seems like that no matter like what happens, like they always try to give these certain timelines. And obviously, like I feel like that the bigger players are always going to try to push the timeline as drastically as they can. Kind of like you said, Elon's trying to push the timeline on the trucks right now, and then on that Roadster, and then obviously like anything new, they always are trying to get it out as fast as possible, and they're trying to work as efficiently as they can. So that would make some sense. And but with that being said, it is making some sense what Mark's saying. It's just in the end though, like Tesla and these companies, they've all had some pretty major problems, especially in the beginning stages slash like even Tesla a few years ago, like they were pretty established a few years ago, but obviously they were still having like lots of issues like with production and stuff like that. And they were still keeping going, and one of the big reasons why Tesla was able to keep going was their stock, like they had a lot of cash on hand because of all the investors they have. And hopefully Lucid can stay up, as long as the investors stay in, I think Lucid will be okay. It's just, as long as they have that cash on hand, I think that they'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean, look how many times Tesla did like share offerings. Like I wish we could pull up that data, but I believe he did a share offering in, I don't know, was it the beginning of, or I think it was like the end of 2021, and then I think August of 2020. I think they did a couple of offerings, and that raised a ton of cash for him. So if the stock's popping up, it definitely gives them opportunities. But all in all, Mark, thanks so much for the information. It's always good to have like another opinion join the stream and talk about it. So good stuff. We have Vicky saying Ford's market cap 62 billion, average revenue for the past 5 years 150 billion, free cash flow in 2020 18.5 billion. Global distribution network, several EV cars being built in coming months and years to come. You know it. And then AJ said, have a good day, guys, off to rehab. So best of luck, AJ. Thanks so much for joining today. We really appreciate it, and we definitely wish you the best. We have Vang saying, so how many cars were delivered yesterday? So we have Mark saying Lucid delivered 5 cars, not 25. To my knowledge, 25 were delivered, but I'd have to confirm that now. Vicky also said Lucid's market cap 44 billion, revenue 0, free cash flow in 2021 certainly negative, no distribution network, 1 car to be built, it cannot end well. So good info, but keep in mind, like, every company has to start somewhere, right? Like, I'm really only like selling some cash secured puts on Lucid right now, but I'm trying to give like the other side of the argument. I'm sure at one point Tesla had 0 revenue, and like there's a lot of companies that they have to start somewhere. So keep that in mind. I'm just trying to give the other side of the argument, but I don't know if you have anything else to add in, Tom, or whether it be Lucid's current action or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at any of their current action, unfortunately today, Lucid's honestly looking not the best. They're kind of hitting that $40 resistance and bouncing to the downside. I don't think that this has anything to do with them being a bad company or anything. I think it's just the stock price. Keep in mind, like Mike said, Tesla and these companies, they all have to start somewhere. So I know obviously Lucid's probably going to take a lot of flack for the next year or two. Like while their cars are starting to come out and stuff like that. Keep in mind they're going to be spending a lot of money on research and development as well. Right now, their cars are costing like 100 grand plus. In the future, hopefully they can get it down a little bit cheaper. I know that they're definitely talking about doing that. So they're definitely, I feel like that there's lots of room to grow. And the main thing is as long as people keep investing in the stock, they'll always have that cash on hand like Tesla did. Like Tesla was not profitable for years. Like I don't know how many years it was, like
At Fisher
10,
Investments,
15.
our clients
If you go back and look at the data though, they were not profitable for a very long time. They were making lots of money because of tax credits from the government and stuff like that as well. I know people are talking a lot about that. I'm sure Lucid's going to be getting a lot of tax breaks / tax credits as well because they're in that clean energy sector. And that's generally what the government does. So hopefully they can just stay up. I think as long as they can just keep making cars and stuff, I think that's awesome. The more electric car makers out there, the better. I think it'll be really cool. Now I love Tesla. If I had two dealerships right now side by side and I had to pick a car, I would definitely be buying the Tesla. I like Lucid, but whenever it cost 100 grand and I could go buy a Model 3 Performance for 50, 60 grand, you just can't go wrong with it. But for right now, that's just how it is. But in the future, I feel like Lucid and some of these other companies, there's even a few other ones like WKHS that are still kind of trying to get going and stuff like that. And you can see their stock is not doing near as good as Lucid's. And Lucid actually just started doing their deliveries. So I don't know. I feel like out of all the other EV companies out there, like WKHS or just other stocks like that, I feel like Lucid just ranks pretty high compared to especially a lot of the other ones. I know we already talked about Nikola a lot, but I feel like that out of all the companies, like Lucid is definitely, to me, like almost like second place to Tesla. I know XPEV is supposed to be pretty good as well, but I think that Lucid to me is honestly right, at least at this moment to me, a second place to Tesla. Obviously, Tesla's always going to be number one because, you just can't go wrong. Elon's the best, right? But I feel like Lucid's still pretty cool.
Yeah, so guys, keep in mind, like, these companies are at, like, totally different stages, you know what I mean? Like, Tesla's been going on for a while now, and Lucid's kind of just starting off. Like, we have to keep in mind that Lucid is popping off because they're delivering basically their first vehicles, where Tesla is producing, or they just had a deal for like 100,000 cars with Hertz the other week. You know what I mean? So I feel like we're not comparing these companies. They're just different. They're at different growth stages.
It's like apples to oranges.
Yeah, exactly. So look I don't even I'm just selling Lucid cash secured puts. If I get shares assigned, they'll be at a low price, and that's what I want. I would say that Lucid is probably riskier than Tesla because they're just a much newer company. And at the same time, if they can prove to have a solid product, produce it effectively, and make some good money, then their stock can do very well, But they're in a sector that's growing so fast where, in my opinion, it's not worth shorting the shares. Now, if things go bad and the stock does go to zero, yes, you could probably make a lot of money. But keep in mind, people were really hating on Tesla a couple years ago. I know that there were like billions of dollars lost just last year alone from people shorting Tesla, and they're still making the same argument how Tesla's a scam and it's a fraud, this and that. So just keep in mind that any company, especially when it's growing quickly and it's, it's new, there's going to be a lot of problems with it. So just keep that in mind. But doing a quick recap of the market overall, Tom, one stock that I've been watching for a little while is JMIA. It's up 8% today. I'm just eyeing it for like a quick little trade. Nothing too major, but it's popping off pretty well.
Yeah, hey, this is actually like right on support as well. I actually really like how it's bouncing off that support right around $18. I feel like that even if you get like a short quick trade, it could be good. Even if you like get shares and you put like a stop loss like at 17 or like 1650 or something really close, I feel like that could be a good way to go too. Like honestly, if it bounces off support, we could see a pretty nice bounce over the next couple of weeks. And hopefully it holds this for the next couple of months as well. But like you said, I feel like it has a pretty good shot over the next few days with this bounce, and especially with the way the momentum looks right now.
We shall see. Boeing's also looking pretty good. They're up 1.5% on the day. They're not moving too much, but it's definitely good to see that they're green. These cruise lines are popping back up. RCL up nearly 3%, CCL up 2%, NCLH up 2.5%. So cruise lines looking pretty good. And then Tom, let's also take a look at UPST. This stock isn't going down without a fight. It's still trying to pop up there, up 6% on the day. They're just under 350. So, I know we've been talking about this one for a while, like ever since it was at like 160 or so, but maybe this will be the top.
Yeah, I hope that this is finally the top. But once again, we're going up again, up 6%. And I don't know. I'm really hoping that we can maybe hit 350 and start to go down. Like, I'm with you. I hope that it's the top, but man, it seems like this stock just continues to staircase itself to the upside. And I thought this was a pretty good move though, from 400 all the way down to 314. I thought that was a pretty good, pretty good couple of weeks there to the downside, but I hope that we're not heading back up towards 400 again.
For sure, for sure. So Tom, do you have any last minute stocks, options, or anything you are watching for the rest of the day?
I'm really still eyeing up some of these. I don't even know how to say them really exactly. They're like hotel stocks. I don't know if you want to call them Las Vegas stocks or what you want to call them, casino stocks. Like LVS, I feel like is moving pretty well today. Like they had a pretty bad opening, or at least pretty bad opening in pre-market, but they're turning around pretty nicely. And you can see that they actually had a pretty big jump on Friday in the middle of the day. I can't remember what the exact news was, but hopefully LVS can get a nice pop back. I know if we look at them on the max daily chart, they're right down here around some of these longer term supports, like $35, $40 a share. I feel like it's a pretty good pickup. I'm not saying it's going to pop right away, but I feel like if you just grab some shares or maybe sell some puts down here, it could be a good way to go, especially as Vegas and some of these other places start to recover. Hopefully LVS can kind of get a pop back up. I know Penn Gaming is kind of the same way. They're kind of popping off here. They're also around support. I feel like that these stocks have a pretty good chance to maybe start to pop up for the next few days as well.
There we go. So thank you guys so much for joining us today on the stream. We had a great time, and we appreciate all of the information you guys shared with us and all the conversations we had. So thank you everyone for joining and supporting us and just being here. So thank you guys for joining, and have an amazing rest of your day.